to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by the last Demsey McKean, joins me at the Matchroom Gym. Good to see you, mate. How's things?
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's been a while. So, yeah, been back in the gym, training hard, trying to get a date locked in soon. Hopefully should have some news this week as well.
Yeah, just see you doing bits in the ring with Kev, bits on the bag, and working with Tony as well. I kind of want to start in this place. So, I think we come down here maybe January time, and there was a lot of talk around the Anthony Joshua fight. I just kind of want to start by a timeline in between then. I think it was around mid-Jan to now, and just timeline in why and where that fight broke down, because I don't think we've spoke to you since then. So just kind of your take of a timeline of events, please, Demsey.
Well, yeah, it looked like it was getting pretty close to a done deal, and, you know, we talked about, and I think the only thing that kind of slowed down was me being a southpaw, and I've said this over and over again in many interviews, and it seems like to be the only reason why these fights fall through is me being a southpaw. You know, none of these top guys want to fight a southpaw, and obviously AJ didn't have the best of luck against Usyk, you know. So I think he's just kind of over fighting southpaws, wanted maybe an easier fight, you know, like as I've been talking about, like a nice bounce back fight and stuff. And I think it would be a tough fight. You know, I've been in camp with him a couple of times, and obviously the southpaw factor, that would have come into play a lot as well. So I think they probably made the right choice in what they were after, a bit of an easier fight, stylistic matchup. You know, Franklin's a smaller guy, doesn't have as much power, so probably not as much of a threat to AJ. So I think that is a good fight for him to come back on.
Yeah. What sort of stage did they get to? Like, was there kind of a date penned in? Was there, I don't know, the pre-fight photo shoots? How close did you get? Or was it kind of all just... Was it more talk? Because you know what it's like around Joshua. When there is talk, it kind of all just... It all gets really pumped very quickly.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, I think it was Eddie is the one that leaked it to you guys and a few other channels. So obviously I was a name, one of the top names there, and I think maybe one other guy got thrown around, and then obviously these names get thrown back to AJ, and then he kind of makes the final say on that. So I guess it come down to AJ just shutting it down for the southpaw factor pretty quick when it started to eventuate a little bit. So, yeah, I don't blame him. He's probably made the right decision, because it would have been a hard fight for him to come back on.
Yeah. Obviously, there will be something big for you, be it next, be it in the pipeline for this year. Will you be kind of watching the Joshua fight, though, on perhaps with a little bit of a bitterness touch there, because that would have been you with a big money, you would have a chance to get a big victory, and you would have a chance to rocket yourself into world title contention with a massive win. Will you kind of be watching that with a little bit of a, I don't know, a little bit of a sore feeling, I guess?
Yes and no. It's boxing, you know. You know, I've come close to some big fights before, so it's not something I'm not used to. You know, these big fights are kind of falling through the fingertips time and time again. You know, a few years back, we were in talks about fighting Tyson Fury when you know, Deontay Wilder didn't fight the trilogy, and then we got to a top 2, top 3 pick, and that come down to me being a southpaw again. The team didn't want to fight a southpaw, and then obviously back in October, November, I think it was, for the Dillian White fight, we come super close to that fight. Contract getting written up. Talking about fights after me beating Dillian White, talking about the size of the ring we were going to fight in. This is how close we got the Dillian White fight, and then he signed with Buddy McGirt, and Buddy McGirt turned around and said, "Yeah, nah, no southpaws." So I told you, mate, it's something I'm not used to. It's something I am used to, you know. So, but it does kind of suck. But you know, my time will come. You know, I just got to be patient, and once I take out one of these top names, I'm going to position myself to the point where, you know, these guys might not be able to turn around and say no to me being a southpaw, you know. So until I've got that good name and that good resume on my scalp, you know, it's a bit of a waiting game. But, you know, we're in talks at the moment. You know, we're in the fringe of a very big fight very soon, so we should find out this week.
Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. I was just going to say to you, do you know what I think you need? Just a really bad performance, because I think people like picking fighters off once they've seen. Yeah. So I think you just need an absolute shocker of a performance, scrape through with a win, and then people might go, oh, fine.
Yeah, that's it. Punch a little bit slower and trying to move around too much, you know, and look terrible. I think you might be onto something here. So
let's talk about Joseph Parker again. That was a name we mentioned when we were last here. The whole Australia New Zealand thing, it works from that kind of selling point, and is an interesting fight. Obviously, he's a free agent now, Joseph Parker. So I suppose that's surely a fight why Well, there's no reason why that fight can't happen.
Yeah, we're still in a little bit of talks at the moment. That's still a fight that could eventuate. Talks have kind of slowed down a little bit due to promotional kind of issues and stuff at the moment, and then we kind of have something else on the table at the moment as well. We're still waiting to hear back. So we've got a few different offers and a few different avenues that we can go down. But like I said, later on during the week, we should have some big news about a big potential fight. So hopefully that one can come through, and it just depends about if other people are going to be fighting other people as well. So that's kind of what we've got to kind of wait for at the moment, I'm thinking. So, but yeah, can't elaborate too much on that, sorry. So
I was going to say, now you've got me doing that thing where I'm trying to add up the different
definitely.
bits of the heavyweight
Getting us all
division.
thinking, getting you all thinking. So that's it.
I mean, obviously, we're waiting on a Fury-Usyk announcement, and with that, which we're likely to get, gives you a massive heavyweight month. Obviously, Joshua to kick off the month, start of April, Joyce Sang, and then potentially Fury. Obviously, I know you said you feel like it will be kind of an easy fight for Anthony Joshua to come back to, but kind of how it will play out and stuff. Just kind of your take on Joshua Franklin.
I think it's good for boxing, not just in the UK but around the world. If AJ does win, he looks good doing it. He can't knock him. He brings a lot of excitement into the boxing game. He's probably the biggest one. He brought a lot of money to the heavyweight division as well, and brought a lot of excitement back in, packing out stadiums. So I think it is a good thing for him to come off another win and look good doing so, and set up some more bigger fights. And of course, I would like that fight in the future as well. If I win my next one, then he potentially does too. Maybe we could meet. But I think the UK boxing fans really need AJ to win to kind of bring a bit more excitement in there. But it's a thick division at the moment. There's a lot of good fighters, a lot of good fights being made at the moment. Like you said, Joyce and Zhang, two top guys going at it. Hopefully, Fury and Usyk can be made, and then hopefully have some news about myself as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this is news that I'm not going to try and pest you too much. I know you're not going to give too much away. But do you feel like kind of at the top end of the division, obviously things perhaps never work as you expect them to in boxing, but do you feel like kind of at the top end, it is all very locked off for a little bit? Like if Fury-Usyk Carter fight, whether they say rematch or not, there probably would be one. Then you've got Dubois and the WBA. There's kind of loads of different avenues. Do you feel like it's a little bit locked off at the top at the moment for a while?
Definitely. I think if you're the undisputed unified champion, things are great. You're getting paid a lot of money. You pick and choose when you want to fight. But if you're a contender, number one, final eliminator or whatever, you're going to be waiting a couple of years at least. Like you said, you got Dubois as the regular champ. You're going to have Joyce. It's probably going to be Zhang, who's going to be the mandatory. And then, you got all these other mandatory fights happening as well. So that's a long time to be waiting, especially when these champs only fight once, twice a year as well. So it kind of sucks to be a contender like myself, working way up. But if you got all the marbles and all the belts, life's great. So
yeah. I mean, and I suppose there's that thing where you want to keep fighting good fighters. I kind of look at Joe Joyce as a bit of an example. You want to fight good fights, but you also don't want to take the ultimate risk and lose your position. So is there kind of that balance that you've got to find as well?
Yeah, definitely. People don't understand, boxing's, this is our livelihood as well. This is what we're working hard. We've spent years and years to get to that certain point. And once you kind of get to that point to be number one, you want your shot. But at the same time, you don't want to be waiting a couple of years. You don't want to take too easy fights and bad paydays as well. But you also want to, secure your future and lock in the bags. So, but yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's just like, do you keep fighting mandatories or keep fighting big fights and take that risk and possibly lose your opportunity to fight for all the belts? So it is a tricky one. I think it comes down to your team and the confidence you have in yourself, and depends on the matchups too.
Yeah. Well, one thing we do know is you will fight for a belt at some point, no matter how long it bloody takes. Definitely. Talk about Fury-Usyk. How do you see that fight playing out? Actually, before we talk about that, sorry, what have you made of the kind of negotiation side of things? Tyson's obviously pushed straight away with that 70-30. Not sure if he was calling Usyk's bluff, but Usyk just went, go on then, as long as you donate to Ukraine. So they had that bit of back and forth. Do you sit there and believe that one of them fighters doesn't want it? Like, do you believe that kind of narrative that either one of them?
Man, I think Usyk will fight for 20%. I honestly do. I think he really wants to fight. I think Fury just waffles on and talks a whole lot of shit, and you can't make sense of what he says half the time either. So, I think, I don't know. He's only just got Sugar Kronk in as well. And I know for a fact they don't have Southpaw sparring up there as well, because Parker's still looking for Southpaw sparring. They don't have any Southpaw sparring up there really. So they're leaving it late. It's like, five weeks of training left, 5 weeks of possible sparring. So
do you think it could have been a bluff call, the 70-30?
I think it could have been 100%. And I don't even know if their negotiations will go through. Maybe they will. Maybe they're just, going to push it late. Maybe he has been sparring up there and he's been in prep, and they're just they're bluffing and it's all a smokescreen. Who knows? It's Tyson Fury, so anything could be possible. Maybe he's just super confident in having a 5-week camp and only sparring a little bit. But I don't know. It's a tricky one, isn't it? So who knows what to believe?
Yeah. And how do you see that fight if it plays out?
I think Fury he uses his size well, his feints. If he can just, it's probably going to be a very boring fight. You know, it's going to be a jab off, and Usyk going to be moving around. But I don't know. It depends if Usyk can target the body a little bit as well. But I think it's probably definitely going to be in Fury's in his court for sure. You know, big guy, good fitness, long jab. He could just jab and stick it from the outside the whole time. So I think he comes away with the points decision.
Yeah, really big heavyweight month, like I said. And just kind of one more thing on yourself before we move on to something else I wanted to talk about. Can you kind of give us a potential date of when it will be in the ring, even if you can't give us too much on an opponent?
We're looking at probably June, I'd say. Start of June.
Over here?
This side of the world it will be, yeah. So
this side of the world,
you know. So Europe, Middle East, all that kind of region. So it won't be back home. That's probably about the closest you're going to get. So
people start guessing in the comments below. I wanted to talk about Tim Tszyu. Obviously, Australian boxing's been flying. We know that obviously George Kambosos had, well, the biggest of the lot with his winning over Teofimo Lopez last year. But yeah, Tim Tszyu, what a win at the weekend, and he looks like a really, really special fighter.
It is, and they've done a really good job back there. No Limit as well. I don't know if you saw the crowd, the promotion, how well it was run. You know, this massive hometown favourite boy as well, and his hometown is Sydney. Crowd was buzzing. The whole place looked, electrifying as well. So he done a good job and looked good and dominant and put him away in the 9th round, I think it was. And this is the guy the man that beat the man as well. You know, and obviously he got stopped in the later fight. But I think Tim Tszyu is a hell of a contender. I think he showed a lot of people, you know, that he can come away with the win here as well. So imagine that. Imagine another unified Australian champion as well. So that's massive. So, but yeah, we're in a really good place at the moment, Australian boxing.
I'm going to share something with you that might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something. Completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.